Thank you, Michael. I'm Ian.
I'm Evan.
And this is Jokermen Live. So thank you all for coming. Thank you to, and you can clap if you want to. It's cheap heat. Thank
The
you
podcast is called Jokermen, by the way. We don't go by Jokermen Live unless we're live. But tonight it's Jokermen Live.
Tonight is Jokermen Live. Thank you to everyone for coming out. Thank you to the Old Town School of Folk Music. Thank you to Jagjaguwar. Hope everyone dug the fantastic new record from Max Clarke. Yeah, clap. Let's get some clapping. I heard Michael plugging it, but again, Transmitter out next week, Friday the 13th. So keep that one in mind. Yeah, a little spooky. I think on that note, let's just get right to it. Max Clarke and Jeff Tweedy, come on. Go for it. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hello. Well, we were all just hanging out down. I was gonna say backstage, but you don't. It's not a rocking chair. Well, I mean, I think we are gathered. We're gathered here, obviously, to talk about this fantastic new record that everyone just heard here for the first time. I'm always curious, just looking from the outside. I don't do this myself. I do this. I talk about this stuff. Max, like, how do you know, like, when you're writing a new record? Like, when is just a errant thought that drifts through your head? When do you know that that is the beginning of a song, and that song is the beginning of a new record?
Do you know?
No, not really.
Okay.
It's usually when
Next question.
When I have enough, a number of them, then I say, hey, that's a record right there.
And so it just kind of accretes over time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know the Bob Dylan thing is he just like writes little scraps of like phrases on pieces of paper and then puts them in a box, like a wooden box, and then eventually those get turned into songs somehow. Do you have a box writing approach to song?
I'm not familiar with the box method.
Not familiar with the box.
Wow, you made a whole record without having the box. That's pretty impressive.
It's pretty impressive.
But you have to bury it. You have to bury it in the woods. And you go back a year later and there's songs in there.
So this record was one of those records that was produced by another musician who's remarkable in their own right. I was wondering if either of you, both of you, have examples of that, like records where you love the artist in question and then also love the person who produced it.
Tons.
Yeah, John Cale producing Patti Smith
Horses.
is one that comes
Hell
to
yeah,
mind.
absolutely.
Or
Legendary.
Modern Lovers, or
Yeah.
The Stooges, or he had a pretty good track record.
John Cale's the GOAT for that.
Nick Lowe with Elvis Costello.
Yeah.
I'm in pretty good company, Max.
How about examples where it's a bad thing that it was produced by somebody else?
I don't think that's ever happened.
I can't think of any.
Well, there's that one, the issue with, not to bring up Bob Dylan again and again, but that time when Bob Dylan had that album and he later de-produced it?
Yes.
With Daniel Lanois'
Familiar.
production, he drained the swamp, they say, and
Yeah.
took all of that echoey stuff out. Are you anticipating some day far from now when you're like, yeah, Transmitter was good, but I feel like the songs are kind of, they would be better if I just kind of took off some of that Jeff stank that's all over it.
Yeah. You have my blessing. We started there, I think.
Yeah.
We started on the austere end of the swamp.
Yeah. No, I don't. There's not much to take off in that way. Is there crickets?
Oh, crickets.
Who brought the crickets?
There's literal crickets.
I didn't.
That's really rude.
I say-
man.
That was brutal.
I
I
say
didn't realize
one
that we had
thing.
someone doing Foley tonight, like a radio play.
I didn't, and now I have a great new idea for heckling somebody.
It could be an actual cricket
That's
who's
pretty
just
good.
also here in the crowd. How did it come to pass that you ended up working together on this record as a producer and artist? Like, what exactly, was there a moment where you felt like, okay, we want to take our relationship to the next level? Like,
Became Facebook official.
That's right.
No, I mean, well, we were lucky enough to open for Wilco on tour, and then we, towards the end, when we were doing they invited us to go on stage at the last show, and we had to do like a quick rehearsal thing for that, and we were talking, mentioned that I was, working on a record, and Jeff kind of offhandedly said that if I wanted to record at the Loft sometime, that I could, and then Glenn, the Wilco drummer, later was like, yeah, you should do that because he doesn't always say that.
I say that to everybody.
I know, I figured that, but
No, I don't.
but no, then I don't know. I reached out, and I didn't really think that he would necessarily want to produce or anything like that, but I don't know.
I think we set up a play date.
Yeah.
It's like a test the waters and see. I mean, if I can speak for you, I think that there was like a period
Please
where
do.
you were trying to find out what the right path was for the record.
Yeah.
And what kind of studio, and I think it's always smart for somebody, if they're thinking they want to record at the Loft, I think they should try it, because it's not like any other studio. It doesn't have a lot of the amenities that of other studios. It doesn't have walls, So not
Amenities.
everybody's into
True.
it,
But yeah, no, it worked out great, I thought. And the no walls was not an issue, really.
There weren't too many other people recording music in the studio at the same
there
time.
wasn't a drum
There
circle
was no
just
drum
outside
circle
the
down
door,
hall.
like
Exactly.
tonight.
I wonder, produced is the credit on the record, obviously, but you played a ton of the music on this album, Jeff. I guess, what was the working relationship like with you guys in the studio? It seems like it was almost kind of like a duo effort in some places.
I listened to the record today, and I couldn't remember all the things that I played on it. It seemed like a fair amount of stuff, but I don't think we planned to do it that way. It's just it was just I don't know. The songs are so good. I wanted to get in on them, I guess.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I think I wasn't really sure what to expect, but well, it seemed like you were into playing bass, and I liked what you were coming up with, so I wasn't going to stop you.
You did stop me a few times.
That brings
I
me to my
remember
next
that. There's a-
question. Are there disagreements that you can remember from working together in the studio, even if they were small and unrelated to music?
None that I remember. I mean, I don't think you should be that precious in the studio, or kind of ever working on music. I think it should, I would audition ideas, and Max would shoot them down until I came up with something that I could still tell was in the world where you were wanting it to be, and that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, other people have asked me this question. I have said that my experience with, I guess, being produced, and or working with other producers and stuff, it was almost the opposite of this one, where it was usually it's me just banging my head against the wall, trying to come up with something, and then them being okay, no, that was good. But this time, we kind of let you do that. And,
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, the name Cutworms, or the fact that you have the band Cutworms, it's also sort of like a stage name in a way, you know, in that it's like, it's you. What does, but there is the band, of course, also that tours with you, but in this case, you know, mostly didn't play on the record. I guess I wonder what is operating behind the name Cutworms afford you that if you were just putting out records as Max Clarke, maybe you wouldn't get?
I don't know. I think maybe when I started, it was like it had the advantage of being like an external thing that you could, you know, it expands your person bigger than you are.
You have a little more flexibility.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a better way of putting it. But yeah, also, you know, well, some people don't like the name, I think. They
All right, who doesn't like the name? But I didn't know until, I mean, I think some people know and some don't. The origin of the name is from a William Blake verse, and so it is, if I can remember, it's the cutworm forgives the plow, which is very profound when you think about it. This William Blake, he's pretty good at that. But I was wondering about like the idea of forgiveness seems to be very baked into the name. Like once you know that about it, it feels very integral. And I was kind of curious if that concept figures into your concerns as a lyricist. How do you, does it?
Like forgiveness? I don't know. I mean, I think when I chose that name, and you know, I was pretty young. I was like 19 or 20 or something. And I was getting into all those, what my friend calls like rock and roll poets, which are like William Blake and Rimbaud and Baudelaire.
Baudelaire,
and all those people.
The Bob stuff.
Yeah.
And the television, Tom Verlaine,
Sure.
Richard all the
Well said.
rock and roll poets.
Right. So, I don't know. On one hand, you could say that's like a pretty pretentious way to name your group, but like, but it's also like, I don't know. It's like worms, you know. It's like the lowest life form. So I thought, you know, and it's like a dead worm too. So
Doesn't sound too
get much
pretentious to
slower
me.
than that.
You're selling it. Names are always tough. I mean, sometimes you start a Bob Dylan podcast, and then you finish talking about Bob Dylan after 2 years, and then here you are 6 years later, and you're still known as Jokermen, which is a Bob Dylan song.
but it's too much marketing money to redo it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're pot committed at this point. Back to the band concept, like with the band, you know, you're going out on tour soon. Do you feel like it's becoming more of a band at this point? I'm always curious about this because, like, again, to continue to use Bob as a comparison point, so many times, at least earlier in his career, he would just round up whatever random guys like happened to be in town, and then go into the studio and say, "All right, we're gonna make this record, and you're on this album." You know, he hasn't done that so much the last couple of years, but
They were usually the best guys.
they were usually the best guys.
How are you going to find somebody that can play my parts?
I mean, I thought you might just have to, you know, phone them in. Or something.
I'm not really that busy. So.
Maybe there's is there room in the budget for like a Jeff Tweedy hologram type situation?
I have one.
But
Well, that solves it, I think.
does it feel like it's becoming more of a band at this point?
I mean, I don't really know what that means.
Is
I
the
think
band in the room with us right now? Max?
It's a band. I think it's always been a band in my head, but I guess having, you know, I've had a touring band for a while now that was like pretty solid, but even that has kind of changed personnel recently too, because it's hard to make money in this industry, and everybody's got to be doing a lot of different things.
Hustling.
Yeah. So, but I guess in the sense that like the project I used to be like pretty white knuckle, like it's all mine kind of thing, and do everything myself. But recently I've like opened it up more to having other people, like on the record before this, I actually like allowed other people to play on it, and then this time like having Jeff play a lot, and I co-wrote one of the songs with Noah, my drummer, and like it's actually like turns out good to involve other people.
All right.
Which song is that, by the way?
The first one on the record.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites on the record. And yeah, I didn't come up with it.
Oh, come on. You sort of did.
Yeah, I know. I finished it.
What do you hope to offer when you're producing? What do you think about, like, is the thing that you go into that situation, is there something that you're kind of like, if I can bring this? Or do you kind of take that as something that develops over time and is discovered as you go?
I've only produced a few records, like over the last 15 years or so, starting with Mavis Staples, and that's all I wanted to say. Just wanted to get in a lot of cases, I think I just want to help them make a record where you don't hear a producer. I like working with people that sound like themselves when the room is empty and it's not coming through the speakers, And, so most of the people I've worked with have been like that, including Max. I think over time I've grown a little bit more confident in not just in the studio, not just as a producer, but just as a person that's a little bit older than a lot of other people playing music these days. I try and be what I wanted other people to be to me and weren't sometimes. I want to like make somebody feel comfortable and validated and encouraged and seen, and not treat somebody like they're not worthy of like having all the kind of stuff that I also want to. I just want to share the space that we've made too, and that's like something really gratifying for me. But to answer your question, I just I wanted Max to feel great about his record at the bottom line, and if I could make it what he wanted it to be, and then maybe showcase some idea of what I thought would make it even better, I would do that. But otherwise, it just was happy to be making him happy.
I think fantastically successful all the way down the line. Max, I wonder, like, having that line on the record produced by Jeff Tweedy, that, kind of brings along with it some maybe...
I hate to break it to you, but it has historically not affected sales.
We'll keep our fingers crossed.
Is it too late to add a hype sticker to the sleeve?
Yeah, one of those big orange stickers on the front. But it does, I think, maybe bring along with it some expectations of some sort, or other people are going to be dialed into it who might not have been as dialed into it, right? Were you concerned at all about doing that?
About the haters, you mean?
Yeah.
All having my
Jeff's many
stank on it.
His many enemies that are out there.
I don't know, not really. I mean, for one, I guess I don't know. Wouldn't really know what to expect from that. Other than, I mean, Jeff and Wilco have made a lot of great records. I think
True.
like. I don't. If anything, I think people would maybe just like they might reach a certain other like group of people that hadn't heard of me but know their music and would that would be a good thing. But no, I don't know. I mean,
I don't think it was the main point of like working together. I don't know
No.
if it would be wise to do that. Just like to have somebody's name recognition on your record.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, it seems like an
But
organic.
I mean, I don't doubt that happens. I mean, that people do that, but I don't know if the record still has to be good, and that's going to be its best chance of reaching people.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. At least in my experience, like either working with different people or like even like I mean, maybe when I was a lot younger, I would have thought like if I could just like open for this one person, then like I would make it, But like after playing in this world for like over 10 years now, like you know that that's not how it works
Right.
really. So you don't really expect that anything to be like the only thing that's gonna make it good is if it just speaks for itself.
If it's good, yeah, absolutely.
To that point, I'm just kind of curious for both of you, your histories with each other musically. Like, what was the first time that you heard each other's music, or do you have particular memories of connecting to it? Because it does seem like this wasn't one of these sort of focus group things of like, what we should do? It seems to have organically happened. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I first heard Wilco when I was probably in high school, and like, I'm pretty sure like one of my
Great school.
Yeah, my dad was really into Wilco.
No, he didn't let me finish. My cool older friend who is a skateboarder showed me this.
It's not helping.
Well, I don't know what you want from me.
I'm sorry.
But no, I mean, I'd been aware of Wilco for a long time, and I also like lived in Chicago for 6 years, so and by that time, like they loomed pretty large in this city. So, I wouldn't have thought at that time that I would like, be in this position and like work together. So that was, cool for sure. But I don't know, I kind of forget what the question was.
Favorite Wilco songs?
No, don't put him on the spot for that.
Well,
like that.
all right, favorite Cutworms song. Where did you first hear Max's music? How did you become aware of Cutworms?
I don't really remember. I mean, I
When you were in
listened to
high school?
Yeah, I was in high school. I was in high school. Actually, I think I was in grade school. And no, I like checking out bands. I listen to a lot of music. I'm always excited on every Friday. All the records come out, and now compared to when I was a kid, I can pretty much go online and listen to almost anything that comes out. And if I had that when I was a kid, it would have blown my mind, because I could only buy a couple records every week. So I don't remember specifically. I just remember associating this really, really unique voice and unique songwriting flavor with the name Cutworms. That's my memory of it. Is like just going, oh, I like that. I like that. Max has a singular thing, and when I think of Cutworms, it sounds my memory of it sounds like what Max sounds like. I don't know. I keep circling around this one idea, but I just think that's hard to do. It's hard to have like a voice that's recognizable, even regardless of what voice you're given physically. Allowing yourself to sing like yourself, and I know always that's your voice is the main thing I was really drawn to, and the songs are all so well crafted and lovely. And I think that I don't know, I covered one of your songs on the Tweedy show one time. I can't remember the name of it, but I know that we did one, and that was probably the first time I'd ever really learned one of your songs. Was on like that.
Yeah, no, I remember that. That was it was one of the ones from the double record, the pandemic times. But yeah,
That was a new song, I think, at the time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
On the note of the songwriting, I think you mentioned the press packet, or whoever wrote the press packet, presumably not you, Max, but I think you say something that like Jeff intuitively kind of understood the narrator, like who the narrator was of these individual songs, and that word narrator kind of interested me. How do you distinguish between yourself? Do you distinguish between yourself as the songwriter and any narrator in the song? Like, is that a solid line? Do you understand where one ends and the other begins? Do you find yourself crossing it?
Not really. I don't know. I mean, like, obviously anything that you make is like there's a good amount of yourself in it, but I don't know. A lot of what I write too is like trying to, if I can, see things through like somebody else's eyes or something, or like whether or not that's like how it actually would be or not. It's like if you go down that like rabbit hole, you can at least like trick yourself into thinking that that's how someone else would see something. So like, I don't know. There's like different. I don't think it's one or the other.
Sure.
Just the long and short of it.
Do current events creep into your songs? I mean, you just mentioned that there was the pandemic double album. Like, not saying that you. I don't detect much of like a timely thing of like drop-in references to stuff that's going on. But for you, do you feel when you look back at your songs and records, like this was connected to a certain era or like a certain time of a general feeling in the air?
I mean, yeah, it's like I would kind of hope that would be the case to some degree, at least. Like, I don't like necessarily do like topical things, but I feel like, at least for my own personal sense, if I go back and listen to one of my things that I've written, sometimes it'll have like some essence of when it's, because they're like they're like postcards, kind of like writing songs or whatever. It's like a record of a time. It's like called a record. It's like so, and that's also like kind of a hard thing too, because it takes so long to make a record and put it out, and then I've had the experience of like having to then go like tour it a lot and play the songs, and I don't like feel that way anymore. But I try to just I try to avoid that if I can. I think the most of the songs that I like are like have like enough space in them that like for other people to like bring themselves to them, which I don't know, I feel like, in my opinion, most of the great songs have that, where it's not like, where there's a fine line between like a certain level of specificity and also like vagueness. I try to walk that line, but I don't know if I do.
I think you do. I think you both do, frankly. And I think that I see some kind of affinity in not like specific lyrical style stuff, but a kind of maybe, I think you put it well, the way of using very specific moments, very specific images, and then kind of balancing them out with things that are kind of just like the big questions, the big mysterious larger picture things. But it's these singular moments, whether it's like and also just attached to your voice, your style. These things I feel are currents going on in both of your music that to some degree. I mean, that's very vague, but
I think of it like this. If I'm reading a book by, say, Kurt Vonnegut, he can tell whatever story he wants to tell, but when I'm finished with it, I miss his voice. And, he's not necessarily talking from himself, but I feel that way about Max's songs. Whatever story he's telling, I still feel him at the center of it, and that's what's appealing to me. And I think that that's what's appealing to songs in a lot of ways, and art in general, compared to what we're looking at on the horizon with AI art. I think that there's nothing wrong with, so Van Gogh, nobody gave any cares at all whatsoever. Can I say shit?
Yeah,
Nobody gave a fuck about.
you're Jeff Tweedy. Come
Van
on.
Gogh. No, Van Gogh. I think until they hung the paintings up with the stories and the letters he wrote to his brother, they weren't as interesting, and they were more interesting when people had some story behind it and some sort of a sense of a person making these things and struggling to create them, and I, without wanting to embarrass you, I hear that. I hear a struggle in connecting with the world. I hear a struggle with making yourself visible and not being necessarily comfortable with that, but having this internal voice that I think is really strong and yeah, when the record's over, it's the same feeling. I feel like I want to spend more time with that voice.
Well, thank you.
I wonder, on Jokermen, we think about artists in their decades-long careers, prolonged periods of time, and the way that those careers.
This one's for me, Max.
Well, I mean, I think Wilco's a great example, obviously, of a band that has gone through many discrete microclimates, you could say, over the year. I'm from San Francisco. We're always talking about microclimates there.
I'll allow it.
Sure. Well, but the question actually is for Max to begin with, how do you conceive of the Cutworms journey? Because it's been a decade at this point, and this is your fourth, big record, and I feel like there's a real sense of momentum at this point. I don't know, are you aware of the journey, or is it just one foot in front of the other each day?
I don't know.
Okay. Next question.
It's one foot in front of the other, I guess.
Well, I mean, when did you become aware of development of these discrete periods of time? Throughout. I mean, obviously, even before Wilco. It's been. Is there a point at which you become aware of that, or is it just sort of you wake up one day and you realize, oh wow, that period of my life is over, and now I'm here?
There was a period in my life where I realized that I was living my dream, and that was when we got our first record deal and we had a van and we had shows to go play. And I swear to God, and everything since then has been, wow, I can't believe I get to keep doing this. And then eventually I became conscious of the fact that there were choices to make that would not allow me to keep doing it, and there were choices to make that would allow me to keep doing it. And some of them were counterintuitive, like making more money wasn't necessarily going to make me be able to keep doing it.
Sure.
I made some choices that I don't think look good on paper at the time, but I do think that whatever it was has led me to a point in my life where I look around and I still feel like that was my life, my dream, but now my dream is to keep it and feel, but also to feel like I deserve it and work to keep it. And so I don't, to answer your question, I don't think I don't think anybody could set out to have a career like Wilco or even Uncle Tupelo and but have that one thing lead to another and end up in a place where you have I don't know, like a small business that's kind of thriving in a way and a great bunch of people to work with and love and collaborate with. And I don't think you just, I don't know. You can't just snap your fingers and make that happen. But the only thing I can attribute to it is willingness to work and then a desire to make the decision that allows me to do it tomorrow. And that's what I would recommend to you.
Well said.
Yeah, I'll
That's
try.
why we get along.
Well, I'll just speak for myself, and I think probably others. It's nice to see this kind of thing happen. I mean, I think everybody's here because that's exciting and beautiful to witness. Is that there's this multi-generational, forgive me, this kind of a relationship that is. It feels like rock and roll music sometimes is like, constantly dead or dying, and it's just, it's not, and it's not very often that you can actually see and talk about and be in the room with people who are the reason it's not, like this thing of actually working together, being actively engaged, collaborating, and pulling it into the 21st century ever further.
What was it?
This was not a question. I'm just
More of a comment
pontificating,
than a
actually.
question.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, I'll pick up on that and say, like, I think the physical location also, like, I'm almost thinking about, like, scenes or the lack thereof at this point. San Francisco, again, had the most beautiful rock scene in the world 15 years ago. Shout out, girls and that whole world. That's right. And that's all gone now, for any number of reasons, many of which are, macroeconomic and political. But to have such a, beautiful and flourishing, literal physical scene here in Chicago. You come back to Chicago, yeah. Where you lived for 6 years, and we were talking at dinner before, before the show tonight. You were saying that some things feel like they haven't changed, since I was here, and then other things feel like they're completely, it's like a whole different city. I don't know. I think that's really valuable and important, particularly at this time when just everyone is on the phone and the screen so much. Just like people in a room together making it happen, whether it's in a hall like this, in the loft, at a club, like that's what it's all about. So salute to that.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't grow up here, but I feel like I inherited it. I think Max inherited a certain amount of this ethos from this city, and part of it is because of places like the one we're sitting in right now.
Sure.
Like old time. So the city invested in its culture, invested in its sharing music as an activity, as a way of life versus just. Entertainment or
A way to make money,
or
yeah.
A way to make money. And, when I first moved here, my wife had a club called Lounge Acts, and that club and that environment, the encouragement that all the different bands were, pretty friendly with each other. And I think even more so now, like, I think that the young bands, I think it's like idyllic to me, that there are young bands playing country music, but also doing free jazz improv, and they're the same musicians hanging out, and it's like a continuation of this kind of blurring of the line and support for wherever people want to go and do that. So it's to maintain quite a few clubs that still cater to smaller bands, and I think that's one of the things that we inherited here, not necessarily we developed.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I've been amazed. This is my first time here at Old Town, but just literally walking around tonight, like when we got in, there were like little kids coming out of like violin practice. Before we came on stage, there was like a drum circle, like dance class, like literally down the hall, like. And then we don't want to have. I'm trying to get rid of that. Well, that's what we're doing after this. Max is going to bust out the drum and lead the whole room in a drum circle. No, I'm amazed at the variety and the just different types of people, different walks of life, all in one room together. And this is just a random Thursday night in early March.
It's a miracle.
It
really
rocks.
is a miracle. Like, yeah, it's a guy who gets off work as an accountant and comes and learns harmonica, and like that's exactly what it's for. That's why people. Back to Kurt Vonnegut, it just reminded me of one of the things he said. It's like, I don't think being good at something is the point of doing something. And that's the folk ethos. That it should be a democratized activity, and it shouldn't be that we just throw frisbees when we want to be bad at something, and allow ourselves to do it and give ourselves permission to do it. But like singing together and learning music together is a really strong foundation for a community.
I'll just say that I've not spent more than 2 days at a time in Chicago ever. I've been here a few times, and we were talking a lot about this. I mean, we're like, the West Coast elites over here. Like, I live in Los Angeles, and Ian lives in San Francisco. I lived in New York. We actually hung out for the first time there, but it does feel like Chicago, to me, just the impression I get is like it's a city that doesn't rest on the laurels of like something like Los Angeles and New York, kind of. Sorry to say, like it feels that way sometimes, where it feels like, oh, we're the cultural cities, so we don't have to really invest in that. We can afford to tear shit down. We can afford to just bleed money out of these things, and it feels like there's somehow that didn't happen here, doesn't happen here, at least not in the same way, and you can feel it and see it, and I am charmed, to say the least. Like, it's great.
So yeah, I always thought that like one of the things nice about the Midwest in general is like you have time to develop. You can suck for a lot longer, and then I think that's really good. I think that actually makes bands better. The bands that you love are the ones that like went through sucking longer, I think.
I think that's true, yeah. I mean, this feels like a weird segue but not to say that these bands sucked, but
Here we go.
I played in bands when I was here and stuff, and like, there was a lot of like DIY shows and house shows and like, shows in like a weird abandoned warehouse. Like when I moved to New York, it was sort of like, I think it was kind of a product of just the changing times a little bit, but like there was just none of that there. And I feel like it's cool that still existed here. I got to experience it at least. It wasn't even necessarily like this place is amazing, but it's like it didn't even have like that level of organization. It was just like people in basements.
Natural,
and
spontaneous.
Oh yeah, that's like I think that's economics and like there being more spaces available.
Well, yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
Even though it's not like the cheapest city, but still compared to a lot of places, you can. 20-something years ago, Wilco found an empty warehouse where they were renting out floors, and we've been there for 20 years, and I don't think we couldn't have afforded that space anywhere else. I don't think.
Yeah.
And I think also of electrical audio and the great work that happened there, still can, and Steve Albini. Like there's a thing that exists, and and it's an ephemeral thing about the character of the city that just seems to be like rare and special in that particular way.
Yeah, Steve was a really solid North Star for a lot of the music scene here. An iconoclast and definitely controversial in some regards, and admittedly so, made mistakes and stuff like that. But his core beliefs were absolutely altruistic, and he adhered to them in a way that would want anybody to be that's a hero of yours to adhere to those ideals, and I think that guided a lot of the way that other people in the city, proceeded to interact with the capitalist side of it.
Yeah.
How do you feel, Max? Do you feel that, like Chicago shows up in the new record?
I mean, I think it does. It would kind of be impossible for it not to.
Sure.
I mean, it wasn't like something I like consciously thought about at the time or doing it or even leading up to it really, but like just the process of coming back to Chicago and then like, you know, just staying at a hotel by myself in like the like downtown kind of, and just having like, as I've come back through to visit and on tour and stuff, but hadn't really had a lot of time to just like wander around down like memory lane or whatever. But you know, coming back and actually doing that, it did, you know, it was kind of affecting because it was like just about 10 years ago that I moved, and then I don't know, 10 year, like a 10-year block of time it's just striking when you I kind of see what transpires, I guess.
Yeah, it adds up over time. I mean, I would imagine it's got to be like really kind of. I would imagine that you would feel proud about it, like you were saying a moment ago. You know, the bands that you played in before here. Not to say they sucked, but you know, maybe sucked.
Referring to my band when it was here.
Yes. They might have sucked a little more than Cutworms does, we could say. But to leave Chicago then, and you know, 10 years later to be returning, and under these circumstances with this fantastic new record, you know, in the bag, and about to go out on tour across the country, like it kicks ass, and like that's the story that we love to see. We should continue to see, you know, with rock music.
Has Chicago ever appeared in any form in one of your records? I'm just kidding. Should we, you're plugging the tour, should we lead into that aspect of things?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that we definitely wanted to say that you've got your Chicago show coming up May 9th, I believe, at Lincoln Hall, right? So everyone here, buy a ticket at your earliest convenience. And I think on that note, unless anyone has other comments to lodge, we can turn things over to you, Max, to give everyone a sneak peek of the new record live.
Sure.
Knock 'em dead.
Thanks again to Jeff.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you to
Thank
the
you.
Old Town School.
Thanks for having me.
Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you all.